All right, I'm back. So here's 16 and on in terms of factoring. We started it. It's 1 and -2. So the two numbers that fit are -1 and -1. And there's no dividing here because the first number is a 1. So when you divide by 1, it's not going to change anything. We could also write this as v minus 1 squared. All right, 17 is different. This is called a difference of squares. That means you can square root each term and they're subtracting. So the square root of 4x squared and the square root of 25, one's adding, one's subtracting. Same thing here, difference of squares. So we square root each one, so one is adding and one is subtracting. Now this one's different because we have 4 terms. So we're going to do this by what's called grouping. So we're going to group the first two. And we're going to look just at the first two. What do they both have in common? Well, they both have an m and at least 2 m's, both of them. And then when you divide, you have m minus 1. Then we're going to look at the last two terms. And what do the last two terms have in common is 2. And then you're going to divide. So 2 divided by 2, 1m, and -2 divided by 2. Notice that these two match. They have to match. So the one factor that matches, we write down. And then what's in front of the parentheses we write down. Sometimes we can factor this further. But m squared plus 2 is prime. That's what we say when you can't keep factoring. And that's it. Number 20. Again, we're going to factor by grouping. We're going to group the first two terms. They have an x squared in common. And then factor out an x squared by dividing. The next two terms have a -1 and divide. And you have x plus 1. So they share x plus 1. And then what's in front of each is x squared minus 1. And we can go further. It's not prime yet. X squared take away 1 is a difference of squares. So the square root of x squared and the square root of 1 means that we can write it as x plus 1, x minus 1. You could even write this as x plus 1 squared, x minus 1. But let's not get carried away. 21. Again, we're going to group this, the first two. So that is x squared, that's 3x minus 2. The next I'm going to factor out a -1, that's 3x plus 2, because a negative divided by negative is positive. Oh, what did I do wrong? Did I make it, is that a plus sign? If they're both minus. So negative, oh, this is this. I made the mistake. Right? No, this is plus. And that's minus. Because they're both. Is that a plus sign and I didn't, and I like put a parentheses around it? If that is, let's say that's a plus sign. So I'm still going to factor out an x squared, 3x minus 2. But if that's a plus sign, then I'm going to factor out just a 1. So I have 3x minus 2. So now I have what I need, 3x minus 2, and then x squared plus 1 is prime. Because if it's a difference of squares, it would be subtracting. All right, next one. Factor this out. See if I can do this one better. N squared, 3n plus 2. That's a plus sign, right? And that was a plus sign. I didn't see it. All right, factor out of 3. That's 3n plus 2. So we have 3n plus 2, and we have n squared plus 3. 2 more to practice. That's our lesson. So I'm going to factor out. So notice that 2 goes into both evenly, and they both have an m squared. So that's 2m minus 3. And then factor out a 1, that's 2m minus 3. So I have 2m minus 3, and then I have 2m squared plus 1. All right, last one. Factor out a 3 and a v squared. So I get v minus 2, factor out a -1. And so when you divide, you get positive, and when you divide, you get negative. These parentheses have to match. That's v minus 2. And 3v squared minus 1. That's it. It's prime because you can't take the square root of 3. So that's as far as you can go. Anyway, there's your lesson. Mr. G Math over and out. Next, homework. Look at the next video.